Members of the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees also took to the streets of Jos, the Plateau State's capital. The workers who shut down the state's House of Assembly complex in some parts of the metropolis warns that they will boycott the 2023 election if the legislators fail to vote in favor of the local government autonomy.
Surprise and shock that up till now, Plateau State is among few states that are not standing with Nigerian people. Our shout to people and electorate of Plateau is that any party that deny Nigerian a functional, purposeful, democratic local government system, autonomous local government system, should be voted out of power. They don't deserve our vote. Anybody that is standing against autonomy has been diverting local government funds. Enough of stealing, misapplication, misdirecting local government funds. Enough of pilfering local government funds.
The larger population of the Nigerian people reside in the rural area, and the right of the rural area to elect their leaders and hold them accountable and make sure that there is development at the local government level is enshrined in the provisions of the bill that needed to be signed to law. And we want to remind everybody, all the people that have the mandate from 2015 to 2019, the mandate is for them to grant local government autonomy. And on the plateau, the common slogan is Think Plateau and Act Plateau. If the Plateau State of Assembly will think Plateau and act Plateau, the only way they can think it and act it is to make sure that they pass this law.
All right, Rise analyst Dr. Sam Amadi is joining us tonight to help us understand exactly, what exactly is going on here. Dr. Sam Amadi, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Let's even start with those who argue against the whole idea of autonomy for the local government. They're saying those who are insisting on autonomy of local governments lack the understanding of true federalism. According to them, there are only two tiers of government, the federal and the states.
Well, there's no standard form of federalism. Usually, there should be two tiers, meaning it could be federal and local. If you look at Switzerland, for example, cantonments and counties, so it can be federal or state. The argument against the Nigerian constitutional structure is that it's incoherent. You have federal, state, local government, and I think I agree with them. But if you look at the constitution carefully, the constitution simply creates the local government and also allow states to make laws for local government. So it follows that the state is the one that should make laws for local governments. Again, the question of autonomy doesn't have to be constitutional. If you look at the functions in Schedule 4, maintenance of roads, constitutional markets, schools, health centers, those require physical investment by local governments. It therefore means that autonomy is the way Nigerian politicians look at autonomy, because they see this public fund as their fund. So if you take it from the governor's direct control, which enables direct embezzlement, it looks like you are beating them down.
Right.
It's inconceivable that you're going to have a branch of government, whether you're on federal-state federalism, but once you create counties, municipals, local governments, which is what it is all about, they have to be financially autonomous, meaning that they have to collect rates, income, generate wealth, and spend those wealth according to their plan. So whether the constitution wants a two-tier federal state or two-tier federal local government, the irreducible minimum is that each level of government that has function, especially the one defined in the constitution, should have financial autonomy. Because what that imports simply is that you raise the funds, you spend them within the mandate. And that's the only way we can develop democracy. In fact, the lack of democratic content in our democracy is because we're not practicing democracy from the grassroots. If you look at the history of democracy, the town halls were the centers of democracy in the US. When somebody like Tocqueville, who wrote his book, Democracy in America, he focused mainly on the town hall. People govern themselves, municipal, small districts. So they tax themselves, they raise taxes, those taxes are supervised, they use it to improve their life, and they vote their leaders based on how they spend their tax money. So we just can't have development or democracy, except there's a local autonomy for local governments, however defined.
If one may ask, what are the governors in Nigeria afraid of? They've been accused, of the underdevelopment of the local government, even with, supervising the monies, the joint account between local government and the state governments and the rest.
I think you're right. They're afraid. You see, it should become a matter of political campaign that states should not vote for any governor who does not
sign this
sign and agree to 100% local government funding. Now, you know why it's so? Look at the multidimensional poverty report. Everything, most of the items, the dimensions, whether it's sanitation, access to education, healthcare,
basic infrastructure,
are the responsibilities of
the local government.
Right.
So the fact that those things are failing across all Nigerian states, and in some places more than others, is a story around the failure of local governance. So it should be a matter of national consensus that before a governor is elected, he or she has to sign off. They're going to allow local governments to run autonomously, financially, create their wealth, spend it within the framework that the state national assembly.
It's most unfortunate that the state houses of assembly are just appendages.
They're complicit,
highly complicit. Are these anti-people, anti-commonwealth of the common people of
common
Nigeria?
good.
Because
of the common good.
You look at leadership selection. In the past, in 1999 up to 82, 83, when we had the Second and First Republic, or the Second and Third, we saw caliber of persons become House of Assembly. People like Mike Ahamba, who later became Buhari, was a House of Assembly member and made his fame for being a thorn in the flesh. So we saw doctors, PhDs, professors who became House of Assembly. They were not people that were procured by governors. So they go there in their independent mind and they see very serious debates and oversight. Now, governors who give ticket to mechanics, all kinds of persons who have no political opinion. In fact, democracy is predicated on the right of people to have their own economic well-being as well as their voice. So when they get there, in fact, we talk about failure of democracy at the federal level. At the state level, it is murder. That's just nothing called democracy.
Or you could say that it is at the local government level that democracy actually fails because it does
what I'm
not
saying,
deliver.
the states totally has annexed local government and annexed governors have annexed both local government and assemblies. So basically, there's no accountability, no democracy, and it's not a problem. It's not a surprise. There's no development at the states.
Right. So now, President Muhammadu Buhari, about 2 years ago, signed off the Executive Order 10 to address this issue. Of course, the governors, pushed back
they went to
on
court.
that. NOGE, the Association of Local Government Employees, are saying that, look, there's a need to amend the Constitution. Is that where the problem is?
I think the Nigerian problem is that we are constitutionalized failure of democracy everywhere. So something as simple as challenging the governors, voting them out. You have agency now. The Electoral Act has given you agency, okay? So how many times will we amend this Constitution? So the Constitution will prescribe everything for you, prescribe that you should pass law. For example, the House of Assembly is the sovereign of every state. They can impeach the governor right now. So the Constitution has equipped the House of Assembly with the powers to insist on autonomy. If honorable members pass a law this morning,
well, until we have a state assembly, that's not an appendage of the
so you can't use Constitution
executive
to solve a political problem.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that even if the Constitution says you are independent, for example, the Constitution says that every local government should be governed democratically. It's in the Constitution. But almost to turn, if not all.
To run for 3 years, I think their tenure also, or 4 years.
There must be the issue that there must be elected persons, but all the states, most of them, the governors. Caretaker. There's a Constitution. That Constitution has been paralyzed. The president himself cannot do much because he is a parallel sovereign in his own level. So he cannot, executive orders can't operate to undermine or affect third parties' interests. He can only use executive order to manage the executive branch. So when he now extends to do good, the court says he don't have that power. Sorry. That power is in the House of Assembly.
Not because the
intention is bad.
Not because the courts are antithetical to
rule of law.
It's just the
in fact, the court says we are angry that this is happening.
Yeah.
But sir, the solution is in the House of Assembly, it's in the governor, it's in the board of the state, not in the federal
But you had a situation
agency.
where some states, like Kogi, for example, signed the local government autonomy bill.
Well, if they do, then
A few states, you know,
have
are
done so.
known to have done
that.
so, but
Yeah.
it's not accelerated enough. The tenure of this Ninth Assembly will soon run out in a few months' time.
It's done already.
So what happens?
Now,
We'll
not
go
for-
back again to the drawing board like
Yes.
they've been doing since the advent of this new democracy.
So to tell you that you need a new leadership, think in terms of National Assembly asking the states to just sign, state assemblies to agree for autonomy. Most of the state assemblies rejected it. Even their own autonomy, the autonomy of state assemblies. So what's at play here is that the politics, the bad, dangerous politics of state capture by state governors is so massive and a national disaster, emergency issue, that until you cure that politically, no constitution can avail
Ever
us.
succeed.
Because
in
the
other
constitution
words,
is based on some complete
governance
confidence.
is not yet about service. It's not yet about serving the people.
It's an individual thing.
Governance has been captured. The state is literally captured. And these governors, they impose their successor. You look at the struggle with INEC over primaries. They never allow primaries to go because they will insist. Thankfully, we saw some of them beaten by the new rules. The idea is to ensure that they stay there, appoint who is commissioner, appoint who will be next governor, basically taking charge. And the only way to solve that problem is that you have to deepen political contestation, high energy politics, so that these House of Assembly members, the governors are not so strong, they're weak, because the House of Assembly can impeach them in one day. But the problem is that they have stuffed that place with their lackeys.
Yes, but
And so on.
finally, before we let you go,
Yeah.
this stranglehold by the governors and the rest, is it not capable of causing anarchy, starting from that lower level up?
Especially
caused-
now that you have local
It
government
has caused
employees
three
going,
problems.
you know,
We're talking
on
about
protest.
apathy in politics. If you look at the ANOP report, many people are not interested. Why? Because failure of governance at the local level. There's despair. 2, we've seen complete failure of governance. 3, insecurity in Nigeria is actually a state problem, not a federal problem.
Yes.
It's mostly a state problem because they're not governing, there's no access, no democracy, no liberty, no freedom at the state level. So when we say, oh, President Buhari has failed in strategy, the real failure is that the states are almost ungoverned, no production, no prosperity, no access to wealth, access to anything. So the governor simply frees those zones. And without freeing democracy at local level, you can't have real democracy.
Okay.
Democracy should be bottom, or people learn to take ownership of their local surrounding and their own livelihood at the local level. Then they extend it to the state and to the federal level. That's how democracy works.
Yeah, what it means is Nigerians have to begin to interrogate, especially those who are seeking political office at the federal level now, what they will do with local government.
And
We'll have
the
to leave
state
it there.
level.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sam Amadi, for joining us as always.